The stars above the Galactic Council's headquarters shimmered like cold jewels. Inside the massive circular chamber, voices clashed. Alien delegates from dozens of worlds sat in towering seats, their strange shapes casting long shadows on the marble floor. At the center stood the representative of Earth, Ambassador Daniel Kane. He was calm, standing straight with his hands behind his back. Around him, the aliens shouted in their own languages, some using translators, some letting their sharp guttural tones fill the air. They have ignored our laws. A tall, insect-like delegate from the Tsar coalition hissed. Humans have expanded without permission. They mine worlds that are not theirs. They grow stronger every year. If we do not act now, they will challenge the Council's authority. A thick, scaled creature from the Vorga Alliance leaned forward. We have given them warnings. We have shown patience. Now we must show force. Murmurs of agreement filled the chamber. A few delegates looked uneasy, but most had already decided. The motion was clear. Earth had to be humbled. Ambassador. Kane's voice cut through the noise. You believe Earth is weak because we do not threaten you. You think restraint is a sign of fear. But I tell you now, you are making a mistake. The Tsar delegate laughed, a harsh clicking sound. A mistake. You have no fleets that can match ours. Your ships are outdated. Your weapons are primitive. We could destroy your defenses in a single day. Kane's eyes narrowed, but he did not answer. He simply turned, walked toward the chamber doors, and stopped only once. Be careful, counselors, he said, his voice steady. Provoking humanity has consequences. He left in silence, the sound of his footsteps echoing. Far away, on Earth, a cold wind blew across the Arctic ice. Beneath the endless snow, deep under frozen rock, lay a door that had not been opened for centuries. It was older than any living person, older even than most nations. In a hidden control room, dim lights flickered on. Monitors hummed to life, showing lines of old code running across the screens. Men and women in dark uniforms stood at attention as General Ayla Morgan entered the room. She was tall, her silver hair tied back, her eyes sharp and unblinking. She looked at the lead technician. Is the Council's decision confirmed? Yes, General, the man replied. They will send a fleet to teach Earth a lesson. Morgan's face showed no emotion. Then we begin the protocol. On the screen, a single word flashed. Awaken. Deep underground, massive engines stirred. Ice cracked as ancient hangars rumbled open. Dust and frost fell from the hulls of ships that had not seen light since the old Earth War. These were not the sleek ships of the modern fleet. They were older, heavier, built with black holes that seemed to drink in the light. Their edges were sharp, their weapon mounts thick and powerful. Each carried weapons banned by the Galactic Council long ago, weapons humanity had sworn never to use again. One by one, their systems came alive. A deep, synthetic voice echoed in the hangar. Unit designation, Vanguard-class dreadnought. Status, operational, awaiting orders. In orbit, the current Earth fleet continued its regular patrols, unaware of what was awakening below. The news channels reported the Council's condemnation. Some people were afraid, others were angry, but no one outside the highest levels of command knew about the ancient fleet. In the Council's private war chamber, alien admirals studied holograms of Earth. They laughed at the small number of ships in Earth's known navy. A swift strike will end this, one said. We will destroy their orbital defenses, take their leaders, and make them sign a treaty of obedience. None. of them suspected the truth. General Morgan stood on a high platform overlooking the awakening ships. She remembered her grandfather's stories, how humanity had built these war machines during the darkest days of the First Galactic War, how they had sworn to bury them after victory, to ensure such power would never again be used. But now, the galaxy had forgotten why those ships were feared. Morgan turned to her officers. Prepare the first wave, and make sure our visitors can't see them leave orbit. Yes, General. A low rumble shook the ground as the first massive hangar doors fully opened. Beyond them was darkness and the unknown. Morgan's voice was quiet but firm. The Council thinks we are prey. Let's remind them what happens when you corner humanity. High above Earth, far beyond the reach of ordinary satellites, a single cloaked ship slipped into space. Its black hull reflected nothing. Its engines made no visible glow. It vanished into the void, heading straight toward the Council's territory. Back in the Arctic hangar, more ships stirred. The air was filled with the deep hum of engines, the hiss of hydraulics, and the cold voice of the AI repeating, awaiting orders, Admiral. And far across the galaxy, in the heart of the Council's great chamber, a nervous young alien aide whispered to his superior, Sir, what if the humans are not as weak as we think? The elder delegate's mandibles clicked in annoyance. Do not be foolish. They have nothing hidden from us. But somewhere deep inside, a feeling of unease began to grow, because history had a way of remembering, and sometimes the shadows were not empty at all. Asterisk, the blackness of space stretched endlessly, broken only by the slow movement of stars. In that silent void, a single cloaked vessel drifted toward the heart of the galaxy. Inside, Commander Elias Ward stood before a glowing holographic map. Red markers showed the known Council fleets. Blue markers, only a few, showed Earth's modern defenses, but in a separate layer, hidden from all alien eyes. Dozens of green symbols pulsed faintly. The ancient fleet. Elias had been chosen for this mission not because he was the best pilot, though he was, but because he understood the history. He had studied the war records that most of humanity had forgotten, and history told him one thing: the Council had made the same mistake before, on Earth. Deep within the Arctic facility, General Morgan walked through a secure archive. The air smelled of dust and cold metal. Massive steel doors lined the corridor, each one marked with warnings in bold red letters. Inside one chamber, a hologram flickered to life. It showed battles from centuries ago, burning worlds, shattered fleets, and the unmistakable black silhouettes of the Vanguard-class dreadnoughts tearing through enemy lines. Dr. Lena Carter, the lead historian, followed beside the general. We buried them for a reason, she said softly. The old Earth War nearly destroyed us. These ships were our last resort. Weapons so powerful the galaxy called them nightmares. Morgan's gaze stayed on the hologram. And yet, here we are. The galaxy seems to have forgotten those nightmares. Meanwhile, far away in Council space, alien intelligence agents met. In secret, they spoke in low voices, their bodies cloaked in shadow. We have no record of these ancient weapons, one said. Humans could not hide such technology from us. Unless, another replied, they built it long before. They joined the Council and kept it buried. Their leader's eyes narrowed. Send a recon team to Earth. Quietly, if they resist, eliminate them. Back in the Arctic hangar, the awakening continued. Gigantic fuel lines hissed as they pumped power into the dormant ships. Engineers in heavy suits checked every system, every weapon mount. The air trembled with the deep vibration of reactors coming online. From the largest ship, a voice spoke, deep, calm, and inhuman. Designation: Leviathan. Operational: Memory Core restored. Last combat record: classified. Standing by: Lieutenant. Hayes looked up at the towering hull. "I can't believe these things are real," he whispered. His partner, Sergeant Cole, shook his head. "I can. My grandmother used to tell me stories about how these ships ended the war in days, not months, how they vanished afterward like ghosts." At the same time, Commander Ward's cloaked vessel entered the border of Council-controlled space. Through the viewport, massive alien stations floated like steel cities, their lights glittering in the dark. Ward's co-pilot frowned at the readings. "Council security is tighter than we thought." "If they detect us, they won't," Ward interrupted. "This ship was built for silence. They can't detect what they can't imagine." He wasn't wrong. The cloaking technology on his vessel was older than the Council itself, and far more advanced than anything they had seen in the Council's capital. A grand library kept records from thousands of years of galactic history. Few ever read them, fewer still understood them. But in one dusty corner, a young alien archivist stumbled on something strange, a war report not filed in the main archives. It spoke of a war before the Council was formed, and an enemy that had built ships black as the void, silent and unstoppable. The report ended abruptly with a single line: "If they ever return, the stars themselves will burn." The archivist felt his spines shiver. He closed the file and decided not to tell anyone. On Earth, the last of the hangar doors opened. 20 dreadnoughts now stood ready, their hulls glistening under harsh white lights. The air was filled with the low, steady thrum of ancient power. General Morgan stepped onto the command bridge of the Leviathan. The AI's voice greeted her. "Admiral Morgan, authorization recognized. Mission parameters." Morgan's eyes were cold. "The Council plans to strike first. We will strike before they can." A sudden alarm echoed through the facility. A holographic display showed 3 unidentified ships entering Earth's atmosphere, small, fast, and clearly not human. "Council recon team," an officer confirmed. "They're heading straight for us." Morgan didn't hesitate. "Intercept them, no survivors." Within moments, 2 dreadnoughts lifted off, their massive forms vanishing into the clouds. Minutes later, the radar screens cleared, the intruders erased from existence. Across the galaxy, rumors began to spread. Strange reports from Council spies spoke of human warships that could appear and vanish at will. Some said they had weapons that could slice through capital ships in seconds. Others whispered that humanity had made a pact with something older, something not of this galaxy. The Council dismissed it all as superstition, but the unease grew. Back aboard the cloaked vessel, Commander Ward transmitted a single coded message to Earth. Only 4 words appeared on the screen in General Morgan's office. "The shadows are moving." Morgan stood in silence, staring at the words. The awakening was complete. The Council didn't know it yet, but the game had already changed, and in the darkness of space, the ancient fleet waited for the signal to strike. The darkness of deep space was perfect for hiding secrets. No starlight touched the black hull of the Leviathan as it drifted beyond Earth's orbit. Around it, dozens of cloaked ships formed a silent formation. They looked like shadows given shape, their edges sharp, their surfaces absorbing all light. Inside, the Leviathan's command bridge, Admiral Morgan stood with her arms folded. Before her, a giant holographic map floated in the air, showing the galaxy's trade lanes, military routes, and hidden corridors known only to human intelligence. Council. Fleet movements. She asked. Lieutenant Hayes answered. Scouts report 3 battle groups gathering near Proxima Gate. Their fastest ships could reach Earth in 2 weeks. Morgan's gaze didn't waver. They'll never get the chance. Far away, in the Council's war room, alien admirals studied glowing holograms of Earth's space defenses. To them, the image looked weak, a thin shield of orbital stations and a modest fleet of modern ships. They have nothing to stop us, declared a reptilian commander from the Torvak Dominion. We will destroy their defenses before they can call for help. But what none of them saw were the invisible ships already inside their own territory. In the shadows near the Karthos Nebula, Commander Ward's cloaked strike group lay in wait. The nebula's swirling blue and violet clouds hid them from most sensors. But the cloaking systems made them undetectable even to the most advanced alien technology. Ward's target glowed faintly on the tactical display, a massive council. Supply convoy bound for the Proxima Gate, hundreds of cargo haulers, protected by a small escort fleet. They won't even know we're here, Ward said quietly. The first strike was like a whisper in the dark. A single dreadnought, the Obsidian Spear, slid silently out of formation, locking onto the lead escort cruiser. Its main cannon fired without a flash, without a sound. One moment the alien cruiser was whole, the next it split in half, debris scattering into the void. Panic erupted across the convoy. Escort ships scrambled, firing wildly into empty space. Their sensors showed nothing. The attackers were ghosts. The dreadnoughts moved like hunters in deep water, striking, vanishing, striking again. Within 6 minutes, the convoy's escorts were gone. The cargo ships, helpless, drifted in fear. Ward's voice came over the transmit a warning, then leave them. A human voice echoed through every alien ship's comms. This is your first and only lesson. Do not follow the Council's orders. Do not aid their war. Turn back or vanish like your escorts. The convoy scattered in every direction, engines burning hard to escape. Back on Earth, General Morgan received Ward's report. She allowed herself the smallest smile. Good. Now the Council will start to wonder if we're already inside their walls. Across the galaxy, alien news networks began whispering about the Black Fleet. Some said it was an old human myth. Others claimed it was a mercenary armada hired from outside the galaxy, but in the private chambers of the Council, fear was beginning to grow. Reports poured in, convoys missing, patrols disappearing, colonies reporting unknown ships on their sensors only for them to vanish without a trace. The Torvak commander slammed his clawed hand on the table. These are lies meant to make us hesitate. Humanity does not have such power. A quiet voice from the far end of the chamber spoke for the first time. It belonged to Elder Sarin, one of the oldest members of the Council. You are wrong. She said slowly, I was there long before most of you were born. I saw those ships once. I saw what they could do, and if they have returned, this war is already lost. Meanwhile, in a hidden asteroid base far from any star, the Leviathan's fleet gathered. Massive holographic displays filled the operations center, showing the positions of all known Council fleets. Morgan addressed her captains. They think we will defend Earth. They think we will wait for them to come. We will not. Her finger traced a path across the map, cutting deep into Council territory. We strike their supply lines, their shipyards, their communication hubs. No warning, no mercy. And when they finally see us, it will already be too late. The captains nodded. In silence, the Black Fleet would not fight this war like the Council expected. This would be a shadow war, fought in silence, leaving only wreckage and fear behind. In the cold depths of the Karthos Nebula, Commander Ward's ship rejoined the main formation. The dreadnoughts drifted like predators between stars, their cloaks shimmering faintly as they moved. Ward looked out into the void. We've woken something they'll never be able to put back to sleep. And somewhere, far away in the galaxy, the Council's battle fleets began to move, unaware that the shadows were already around them. Asterisk. The galaxy slept under the illusion of safety. Council fleets patrolled the core worlds with calm confidence, believing the humans still hid behind their small defensive line. But the shadows had already chosen their first target, the Council's war. Headquarters floated above the planet Dravenar Prime, a massive station the size of a moon. It was the brain of the entire military network, connected to every fleet, every shipyard, every command center in the galaxy. To attack it openly was unthinkable. To destroy it, impossible, at least, for anyone else from the darkness beyond. The system's edge, the Leviathan drifted into position. Around her, more than 30 dreadnoughts slid silently from hyperspace, their hulls blacker than the void. Each ship's weapons were primed but hidden, the energy signatures masked beneath ancient stealth systems no alien had ever seen. On the bridge of the Leviathan, Admiral Morgan studied the target. It's time the galaxy saw what they've awakened, she said. Her voice was calm, almost too calm. Lieutenant Hayes gave the order. Cloak disengaging. All batteries ready. The ships shimmered briefly, like dark ghosts becoming solid. For the first time in centuries, the ancient fleet was visible, and they were already in attack formation. Inside the war headquarters, alarms screamed. Sensors lit up with hundreds of unknown contacts, all far too close for comfort. The alien. Commanders rushed to battle stations. Where did they come from? One shouted, unknown signatures, black holes, no registry, no council ID. Another cried, In the chaos, an elder officer's face drained of color. It's them, he whispered. The Black Fleet has returned. The Leviathans. Forward cannons opened fire. There was no blinding flash, just a focused beam of energy, so powerful it punched through the station's shields as if they were paper. A second shot followed, slicing an entire section of the station into molten fragments. The other dreadnoughts joined in. Their weapons were precise, each shot destroying a key system: communication relays, shield generators, power cores. The Council's defenders barely had time to react before their ships were torn apart in controlled bursts of light. The ancient fleet didn't waste ammunition. Every strike was exact, every target chosen to cripple, not waste. Admiral Morgan's voice came over the open channel, broadcast on every frequency the station could hear. You provoked humanity. You called us weak. This is your only warning. Stand down or be erased. Her words echoed through the station's corridors as panicked crews abandoned their posts. Some ships tried to flee. They never made it past. The blockade, in less than 8 minutes, the war headquarters was gone. Not destroyed in a single massive blast, but dismantled piece by piece, until it was nothing but drifting debris. The planet below watched in silence as black warships turned and vanished into hyperspace, leaving no trace but the wreckage and a single message burned into the station's last surviving comm channel: "Do not follow us." Across the galaxy, the news spread faster than light. Footage from civilian drones showed the massive black ships appearing without warning, tearing the most secure military target in the galaxy to pieces, then disappearing. Alien worlds that had once mocked humanity now spoke in hushed tones. Markets collapsed, alliances wavered. Even the most arrogant council racers began to wonder if they had made a mistake in the council chamber. The mood had shifted from anger to fear. The Torvat commander slammed his claws on the table. This was an act of war, he roared. Elder Saren leaned forward slowly. "No," she said. "This was a message. And if you do not listen, the next target will not be a station. It will be a world." The chamber fell silent. No one dared to disagree. Meanwhile, far from the council's reach, the ancient fleet regrouped at a hidden shipyard carved into an asteroid field. The Leviathan's crew moved with calm precision, reloading, repairing, preparing for the next operation. Morgan stood at the center of the bridge, her hands resting on the console. "They think this was our main strike," she said quietly to Hayes. "It wasn't. This was the opening move. The real war hasn't even started." Hayes nodded, his eyes fixed on the star map. "What's the next target, Admiral?" Morgan's gaze shifted to the glowing center of council space. "Their heart," she said. "We're going to make them feel the fear they wanted to give us." And somewhere deep in council space, without warning, civilian ships began disappearing along a trade route. Witnesses spoke of shadows that swallowed. Entire convoys without a sound. No one could prove it. But the whispers spread. The Black Fleet was everywhere. The council was breaking. In every star system, fear had replaced arrogance. Patrol ships refused orders. Entire colonies declared neutrality. And in the shadows, the ancient fleet kept moving, unseen, unstoppable. But Admiral Morgan knew this war wasn't finished. The Council still had its core defense fleet, the largest armada ever built, stationed around the capital world, Varelian Prime. It was the heart of their power. Destroy it, and the Council would fall in the deep trenches of Earth's oceans. Something ancient began to stir. For centuries, it had slept beneath layers of steel and reinforced stone, hidden from every scanner. Even most human leaders didn't know it existed. Now, heavy floodlights pierced the dark water as submarines moved in formation, clearing debris from a massive hatch. The ocean floor rumbled, metal groaned, and from the depths, a shadow rose. So large, it blocked the lights of the submarines entirely. It was not just a ship, it was a fortress. Designation: Colossus, 2 kilometers long, armored in an alloy no alien had ever seen. Its core reactor pulsed with ancient energy, lighting the water around it in ghostly blue. On the Leviathan's bridge, Hayes stared at the live feed. By all the stars, it's real. Morgan's voice was calm. It was built for one purpose: to end wars before they begin. The Colossus broke the surface with a roar of cascading water. Its hull gleamed black under the rising sun. Dozens of weapons platforms rose from hidden bays, each capable of tearing apart a capital ship with a single shot. And at its core, an AI older than the Council itself came online. Colossus operational, awaiting orders. Morgan gave them without hesitation. Set course for Varelian Prime. News of the Colossus's awakening reached the council within hours. Panic swept through the chamber. Some demanded an immediate peace treaty. Others wanted to launch every weapon they had. Elder Saren's voice cut through the chaos. You cannot stop it. If the Colossus reaches Verelion Prime, our fleets will burn, and our cities will fall. You have only one choice: surrender. The Torvak commander snarled. We are the council. We do not kneel to primitives. But even as he spoke, the Colossus entered hyperspace. The journey to Verelion Prime took less than a day. When the Colossus emerged, the core defense fleet was waiting. Hundreds of capital ships in tight formation, their weapons already locked. On target, on the flagship Resolute, the Council's Grand Admiral gave the order: fire everything. The void lit up with beams, torpedoes, and kinetic rounds, a storm of destruction that could level a planet. And then the Colossus's shields came online. The entire barrage dissolved against a shimmering barrier, leaving the massive ship untouched. The Colossus answered with a single shot. Its main cannon unleashed a beam wider than a city street, cutting through 5 capital ships in one continuous strike. The shockwave tore apart smaller vessels that drifted too close. The core defense fleet broke instantly. Some fled, some tried to regroup. None succeeded. From the Leviathan, Morgan broadcast a final message to the galaxy. This war ends now. We will not be ruled. We will not be threatened. The Council's reign is over. Verelion Prime's surface shook as the Colossus entered orbit, its shadow covering entire city blocks. The Council's leaders sent their surrender within minutes. The official terms were simple: immediate withdrawal from human space, recognition of Earth as a sovereign, equal, permanent end to all. Council military actions against humanity. They signed without hesitation, and just as suddenly as it had appeared, the Colossus vanished into the void, returning to the shadows with the rest of the ancient fleet. No one knew where they went. No one dared to follow. Weeks later, in a quiet meeting on Earth, General Morgan spoke with Commander Ward. They'll recover, Ward said. They'll rebuild. Morgan nodded. And so will we. But now they know the truth. Humanity doesn't start wars, but we always finish them. She looked out the window, watching the stars. Somewhere out there, the ancient fleet waited in silence, unseen but ready, because if the galaxy ever forgot this lesson, the shadows would rise again.